And epigenetics means you're expressing the genes in a positive way. So you're actually adding a tag onto them, changing them. And so I've been able to overcome that predisposition, right, because of my lifestyle. So how we express our longevity genes is really, in my program, when I take a client in, it's a symphony. It really is a symphony. It's a collection of lifestyle habits, such as sleep, managing stress, and then nutrition, hydration with water, and then nutrition and supplementation. And mindset. Mindset is absolutely, in addition to managing stress, just your mindset and having a sense of community, having love in your life. So it's all these things put together in this harmonic plan, really.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hi, and welcome to the Strong by Design podcast show. I am your host today, Coach Tonya Fines, and joining me is the lovely Juliana Dennis. Welcome, Juliana.
I am so excited to be here this morning and honored. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So happy to have you. Actually, we met last year at the Tampa Club, and we talked a little bit. So I've always kind of had you, and I see you on LinkedIn doing really great things. And I've always had you in the back of my mind. I've got to reach out to her and get her on a podcast. And so here we are finally getting to it. We had a little technical difficulties the last time. So we're trying this again. So far, everything's working really well. So fingers crossed, things keep going well.
Exactly.
So Juliana, just tell us a little, tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I am a longevity coach. The science of longevity is my passion. I had a very long, successful career in laboratory medicine, actually in laboratory medicine sales, where I was teaching physicians about cutting edge technology. So science has always been the forefront of my hobby, really. I love it. And then as in 2002, I started studying functional medicine and nutrigenomics. And so I really made a career now out of helping people look and feel great now and for years to come. So I left corporate America in 2019 and now really living my passion, helping people actually reverse their age. I biologically reverse their age and prove it with a clinical lab test. And I wrote a book, Aging Redefined, Biohack Your Body Clock Backwards. So it's very exciting what we're doing now in science, how we're able to help people live their best life and actually reverse aging.
That's fantastic. So I did look a little bit into your background and read about, you are very much based in science and that you do have a background in functional and lab medicine. Now, I do think that there's still a little bit of confusion when some people hear functional medicine, they're not really sure what it means, or I still think there is a certain amount of people that think it's like some kind of pseudoscience. It's that hokey, fluffy stuff. So can you, for our listeners, help us to better understand what functional medicine is, what it means, and how we can use it or apply it in our daily lives to live a more optimal state of wellness?
My pleasure. So functional medicine, really, in the definition of that, is getting to the root cause of whether it's the illness or any symptom in your body, rather than just treating the symptoms. Many times, we take a drug. Let's give you an example of Advil, right? I sold Advil. That was my first pharmaceutical job. So we're just treating the symptom. But functional medicine is asking why you're even having the pain, or asking why you're having that symptom. And it's a bit of detective work, actually, identifying the why, and then going and putting systems into place that's going to fix the cause. So it's really healing at the root cause. instead of
Right. So a
instead of
very
just, yeah,
holistic approach.
instead of just controlling the symptom, it's getting rid of the situation or attempting to the best of ability.
Right. Right. Now, do you think in terms of today and where we're headed that there's a greater impact, like functional medicine's having a greater presence in, we'll call it like medicine, and in people, in how we are dealing with managing, helping people figure out what's wrong? Because like none of us want to wake up feeling crappy. Nobody likes to go around feeling crappy. Nobody likes that, somewhere between 2:30, 3 o'clock, you start to get that little dip in the day and we're all getting a little sleepy. Like, most of us want to feel really good, really on, really energized, and without having to always take something when those dips happen. So like you say, treating the symptoms. So I'm not feeling great, so I'm going to take something. But this happens a lot. So do you think, man, I just put a lot of questions into one sentence. Do you think functional medicine has a greater presence in medicine today?
Tremendously. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why. With our world changing in health for the last 3 years, what we went through, where people started really having to pay attention in increasing their immunity and taking back some responsibility, for their health. So there has been a huge, I think, awareness of the lifestyle change that you can put into place, and the nutrition and fitness and how that all goes into having a healthier lifestyle. So for the last 3 years, I've seen a tremendous shift in people of wanting to not treat the symptom, but really, again, and also in the medical community, there are so many more physicians now that what I call integrative medicine, where they're using a lot of the same Western principles, but they're incorporating holistic principles as well and looking at more of the root cause. So I see a tremendous shift, and it's just going to get larger and larger. And that's why the science of longevity, 4 years ago, no one even heard of the word hardly longevity. And now it's rapidly gaining momentum. And the science of longevity, how we can express we have longevity genes. We have 7 longevity genes that can actually be expressed. So it's really a field that's growing a tremendous amount of awareness.
Okay, so now, I think everybody's going, all of a sudden, anybody that was maybe still half asleep but their coffee is gone is really tuned in now that you talked about longevity and these 7 longevity genes. So can you, because you call yourself a longevity specialist, so can you talk about that a little more for us and talk about this, how that works and what these genes, and give us some more background on that, because I think a lot of people now are really paying attention.
Absolutely. So I am a bit of a nerd, so I'll try not to go off on the deep.
Oh no, I love it. I love geeking out on science. It's like my favorite thing.
So
geek out as much as you want.
So just a little bit of a background. So in the end of my laboratory medicine career, I was studying and selling pharmacogenetic testing. Big word. And basically that told the physicians, the psychiatrists in particular, the exact psychotropic drug that's going to be the best metabolized for that patient. And I was fascinated by that. And I started studying genetics more and more. And then I was introduced to the world of epigenetics and went to a seminar where Dr. Derek De Silva was speaking, started following icons like Dr. Peter Attia, and learned how with epigenetics, 70% of our genes are not coded. 30% of our genes are coded. We have brown eyes, blue eyes, so on, of a certain height, but 70% of our genes can be expressed. And I had a genetic test done on wellness traits, like what was my predisposition to cardiac and all different things in my health. And I had a lot of predispositions. I should have high blood pressure. I should have high cholesterol, all these things. And I've been able to overcome that through epigenetics. And epigenetics means you're expressing these genes, which we won't go into that depth, but you're expressing the genes in a positive way. So you're actually adding a tag onto them, changing them. And so I have a very, very healthy life, extremely healthy. I've been able to overcome that predisposition, right, because of my lifestyle. So how we express our longevity genes is really, in my program, when I take a client in, it's a symphony. It really is a symphony. It's a collection of lifestyle habits, such as sleep, managing stress, and then nutrition, hydration with water, and then nutrition and supplementation, and mindset. Mindset is absolutely, in addition to managing stress, just your mindset and having a sense of community, having love in your life. So it's all these things put together in this harmonic plan, really. And from that, we see we can see an absolute change within 6 months. I'm also working with a stem cell activation product that's a patch that clinically proven to reverse 8 years in 6 months. So that's one of the supplements. It's really not a supplement because it's just an amino acid patch, but one of the products, if you will, that has a huge impact on reversing age. So again, it's bringing all the points of wellness together and to get that. But there are genes, they're sirtuins.
Yes, okay. I know what sirtuins.
1 through 7 that are actual longevity genes, and different nutrients can express those. And also things like cryotherapy, as far as lifestyle habits, where you're putting the body under stress with cold, that will stimulate sirtuin 1. Also with fasting, that will also express the genes. And it will, in addition, put the body into autophagy. And that's a mouthful, which just means it's doing. The body is cleansing itself of cells that have died, but they haven't left the body. The vernacular is zombie cells, and the clinical name is senescent cells. So these, again, are cells that have died, but they're still hanging around. And autophagy comes in and cleans them all out. It's like taking the garbage out and then letting the middle-aged cells also act even as younger cells. And so that is autophagy, and that can be done or achieved through fasting. And then also there are certain supplements that actually stimulate autophagy as well. So that it is a huge part of longevity.
Wow. So basically with lifestyle changes.
Yes.
As we'll use as the umbrella term, lifestyle changes, which includes, better sleep, better nutrition, supplementation, all of these things you've talked about.
Yes.
We can actually, whether it's activate or kind of wake up or,
activate,
energize, get those longevity genes, wake them up and kind of have them performing at greater capacity.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, we're silencing the bad genes. We're silencing, genes, some of the biggest, the forefront diseases that would come to mind. We're silencing those genes. And we have these T cells. If then you've heard of T cells are our warriors that go out and fight the invasion and fight infection. So with all this lifestyle and the fitness, the nutrition, the nutrigenomics, we're giving muscles to our T cells to go out and fight for us and raise immunity, definitely. And also your heart. So a lot with, and when I say heart, I don't mean physical heart. I mean your emotional heart. I've really seen clients where I've sent them to therapy. I have a therapist I work with that I refer to, and she is a functional medicine therapist. She gets to the root cause. And so that is a big part of it, where I have had clients that have had emotional trauma. And you really have to heal that for optimum health and for optimum longevity. And that's for someone, that's like for myself, I have this such a passion because, I wake up every almost every 364 days a year, maybe one day, full of vitality, joy, happiness, vibrant, zest for life, zest for living. And so that's my goal for my clients.
Wow. That's lovely. And actually I realize our listeners can't see you, but the woman is beautiful.
Thank you.
I don't know what your age is. We're not going to ask, but I know
you're. Tell you. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you look much younger than what your age probably is. But yeah, like you have that, like the energy that you have is insane. Like it really is insane. And it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I just want even half of that right now. So what you're doing is definitely working. So when somebody comes to you and wants to work with you, just give us a picture of what that looks like. Because I'm sure there's people listening and they're like me, crazily taking notes, but wondering, okay, so I call you, I text you, whatever, and we agree to work together. What does that kind of look like?
That's a great question. So what I start out with is what we call just a discovery call, right? It's a no charge discovery call, where we have a chat and identifying their goals. What are really they looking for to achieve? That's number one. And number two, what their commitment is in order to achieve those goals. Because I don't work with everybody, quite frankly. They call me like the Navy SEAL of health coaches. So I really only want to work with people that are committed. Because the number one, and this is a good health tip for someone to grab. Here's a nugget for someone to walk away with. The number one health tip that I'm going to give is consistency. And people have to be committed in order to be consistent. So again, so we start with the discovery call. What are they looking for? What is their commitment level? And then if we feel like we're both a good fit to work with each other, then I send them a very detailed questionnaire, because this is completely customized. I don't have any cookie cutter program. It's all to where they are and identify their current lifestyle. And then we identify what changes need to be made. And then I formulate a workbook, a pretty robust workbook that goes along with the coaching. So they have something visual. I'm a very visual person, and I feel they need something concrete and something visual, printed off 3D, not virtual, to be able to follow this program. And then I get them started, and then we have a call once a month for maintenance. So, and then the programs are very, very customized. Some people want something very simple. I have some clients where there's no coaching part at all. They just want to know what to do and what supplements to take. And for those, I get them on the right supplements, and that's it. So whatever depth that someone wants, right, that's where I go.
Excellent. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. Now you know what you're in for. And if you're not committed, don't waste the call. But I can tell you right now, right, just to spend even 10 minutes with Juliana, you really want to work with her for sure.
Thank you. One thing that I do with anyone and everyone, I'm so passionate. I've been studying nutrigenomics and nutraceuticals since 2002. And if someone just wants to know if what they're taking is a good one or not. And I work with several companies that I sell from. Some are physician-based companies. We're usually only physicians. I've been fortunate to get an account with those companies, but where I'll just tell them what their vitamins are great, they're not. And then if they're looking for suggestions, I have a whole plethora of cutting-edge science-backed nutrition stuff.
Okay. So do you require before, if somebody, like if I were to come to you and say, okay, I know I'm predisposed for this. The last time I had lab work, they said, the last time I had lab work done, they said everything looked great, but my cholesterol is dangerously high, which is really crazy because I live a very healthy lifestyle. I eat very well. I work out, but it does run in my family. So mine's more genetic based. So if somebody came to you and said is there something I can take? Are you able to go, well, here, like, do you require lab work prior to that? Or do you, in that discovery call and with the agreement to work, are you able to go, here's some things I think you should get started on?
That's correct. I love lab work. I love reading their lab work. Certainly, if they currently have it, that gives me more information, but it's not required. Absolutely. So if they come with one thing that they know, so I say absolutely, this is one supplement that is going to pinpoint and laser into that condition, and then also definitely give them foods to eat. So I am absolutely huge on nutrition, because supplements are exactly that, supplements. That you have to have the strong foundation of a clean diet. And I am known for expressing my feelings about dairy. I tell everyone to please get off dairy and replace them with another plant-based alternative. I'm not. Some people think that I'm totally plant-based. And I said, no, you can certainly keep your meat. Just make sure it's antibiotic-free, grass-fed. But I'm very opinionated, if you will. I have a strong opinion about removing dairy from the diet and also refined sugar. Those two things.
Okay. So what are your reasons for your being as adamant as you are about people removing dairy from their lives?
Interestingly enough, I was raised on a dairy farm. and then I'm really, now you see how old I am. We had after we left the farm, we had what was Hood. Hood was a company. It was a big dairy, and they would come into your house, open the refrigerator, and stock your refrigerator. Right. So we had everything from sour cream, butter. I mean, you name it, loaded, and it's extremely inflammatory. Cow's milk is not meant for human consumption. It's meant for the calf. There is a video that I watched by Dr. Barnard, Barnard, and he talks about the dangers of dairy. It's an 1.5-hour video on YouTube. And after that, I was totally sold. And I used to have asthma. Absolutely no more asthma. I've just seen it over and over again. My sister suffers from arthritis. She still lives in Vermont, was eating that Vermont cheese. And after several years, I finally got her to give up cheese. And she goes, oh my gosh, I wish I'd listened to you years ago. And the reason why everyone's going to be thinking, oh, my cheese, the reason why you love cheese so much is metabolized through the opiate receptor in your brain.
We all love cheese. That's the hard one. When you talk to people about dairy, they're like, but I can't give up my cheese.
That is why it's metabolized through the opiate receptor. So I have everyone listen to the video from Dr. Barnard. He's extremely articulate, eloquent, and it will give you a new perspective on dairy. Now, goat dairy is something. There's compounds and enzymes, proteins that are different. So I'm goat dairy friendly, if you will. Okay. And sheep dairy dairy. Sheep. Once you have sheep and goat yogurt and goat ice cream, you never want to have anything else.
Okay, good to know. Well, then that goes for like the goat based feta, because I know you can get feta. It's either cow based or the goat milk based. So, for those of you like myself that love their Mediterranean Greek food.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, because a lot of stuff that I see from you and read, you also do a lot or talk a lot about biohacking. And again, it's another one of those terms. I did a podcast a couple years ago with Anthony DiClemente talking about biohacking. So for those that maybe haven't heard that podcast, or, it's been a while back that even I need a refresher, can you explain to us a little bit? I think this is another one. It's this misconception that in order to be successful at biohacking or to implement any of those biohacking tips, you've got to have this really futuristic home with all of this crazy stuff to do it. And I think, for a lot of us, it turns us off. It's like, well, I'm not going to go out and buy this red infrared light thing and, lay in it an hour a day. A, I can't afford it. B, I don't have an hour. So talk a little bit about biohacking, what impact it can have, and how, that mom and dad that are working and supporting a family that want to be healthy, that are interested in how they can implement any of those sort of tools?
Sure. It all goes back to what we were talking about before, and that is with the sirtuins, those longevity genes, and expressing those longevity genes, which can be done. Okay, let's talk about cryotherapy. That not everyone has access to a cryotherapy chamber, right? So what you can do is someone can do this today for free. You taking a cold shower, even, putting the body in a stressful environment like cold, and also saunas. Saunas are very good if someone has access to a sauna. But again, for someone just being able to do something immediately, taking cold showers is perfect example. You are expressing these genes. Also fasting. Everybody can fast. There's different levels of fasting, from intermittent fasting, where you eat for an 8-hour period and then you fast for a 16-hour period and you're allowed water. Or there's more extended fasts where you're just doing a water fast for 24 to 48 hours. So those are simple things where you don't have to buy anything, and it's easily available. I do have my most prominent product that I have, and it's definitely affordable, is my stem cell activation patches. They reset in 24 hours. They will express 4,000 genes. And
wow. Now, is that a one time you put it on for however long, and then you take?
You wear it for 12 hours a day. It's a patch. Actually, I have one. This is not visual. You're just hearing this, so I can't show you. But it's like a little circular Band-Aid, and I wear it in the back of my neck for 12 hours. And it's an amino acid crystal, and from the heat of our body, activates that amino acid crystal, and it wakes up our dormant stem cells, because at 50 years old, you've lost 65% of you're not lost them, they're dormant. 65% of your stem cells are dormant at age 50. And I am 68 at this time, and I have 95% of my stem cells were dormant. So this actually wakes them up and starts allowing the body to heal itself. So that's my number one biohacker. But for someone to, anyone can do right away, cold showers and intermittent fasting are two great examples. And then having a clean diet, getting processed food out of your diet, getting refined sugar out of your diet, getting proper sleep. So these are all things that you can do without costing you any money whatsoever. Going to bed by 10 o'clock. And having a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep consistently makes it.
Wow. Okay, so there you go. Tips you can do right now.
For free, yes. And walking. I have everybody walk in nature for a minimum 30 minutes a day, walking in nature a day. Mm-hmm. So it not only helps your physical body, but your mind and your spirit as well.
Yeah, I think that's... I think that's important. I know it's something I actually I have timers set in my phone, because I'm up very, very early in the morning, start working. But when I get in that zone, especially if it's a writing day, I get in that zone and I'll just not eat, not drink, and just be work. And then it's, 7 hours have gone by. And then I wonder why when I go to get up and walk, it hurt, my hips hurt, my back hurts, my neck hurts. So I have the alarm set in my phone so that I'm getting up and getting out and going for a walk. I do like to work out. I still go to the gym, but there are days that I need that accountability, and it's not, I don't do it for the exercise because I'm someone that likes to exercise intensely. So that's why I like the gym. I like lifting heavy things. I just always have. But getting out, it's more for my mind. It changes scenery, my head, my emotional well-being.
Tremendous for stress management. And you mentioned something that reminds me that this is so important. And I find so many people just forget about it. And that is stretching. It's huge. There are so many people that have sciatica. My sister had sciatica and she got on the patches within 3 days, she was off her medications. I have to say it is not meant to heal, treat, or prevent any illness, just optimize the body's health. I'm not giving medical advice, but that can be avoided when you're in your 40s and 50s. Start stretching every day. I do yoga poses, and I don't go and do yoga every morning, but I do just sit in a yoga pose, stretching out my hips, stretching out my joints, and that will prevent injuries well into your 70s and 80s. So it's so important. Stretching is vital.
Oh, I agree. And I know, like when I used to coach clients, I was so demanding of them to stretch, and yet I wasn't doing it myself because I'm like, I don't have time. I'm in such a big rush. And it really was a huge downfall for me because I ended up with, terrible back issues that they still plague me now and then. But, again, it's one of those things that I have to write it down so that every morning when I get up and look, it's like, hey, I've got to stretch. And I mean, it feels great. And it really doesn't impact my day as far as time does. That was just a whole mindset shift, but it's a huge difference. And I remember seeing, when I was living in Canada, seeing my chiropractor and him saying to me, like, you have pets, you have cats and dogs, right? I'm like, yes. He goes, well, when they get up, when you go out into your garage in the morning and they come out of the kennel, what's the first thing they do? I'm like, a downward dog, like they're stretching, they get up whenever animals get up from a sleeping position, the first thing they do is stretch. He's like, your dogs are smarter than you because they're stretching. And I thought, yeah, that's right.
We see that a lot, actually. Animals are smarter than us. But one thing I want to applaud you for, you have put in tools to help you be consistent. And that is what I do. Part of my coaching. There's two books that I have everyone read. And so this will be helpful too for people listening. One is Atomic Habits, the book Atomic.
Oh, yeah.
That I found is just so efficient in helping people change their habits. That book is revolutionary. And then the other book is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And it's a book, but it's also like a workbook where you can actually write in it. And I reread it every year and tweak my notes. And it's basically, the whole premise is making small changes daily, adding up to compounding tremendous results. And what it makes you think is what I'm about to do, fostering the lifestyle that I want, or is it deterring it and bringing it away from the lifestyle that I want? It's one. Everything you do is one or the other. And so those two books are so, so beneficial in helping people achieve their physical and healthy goals.
Excellent. Love that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your book. You have a book on Amazon called Aging Redefined, Biohack Your Body Clock Backwards. Chapter 4 is all about keeping your brain sharp.
Yes.
So what are some things we can do? And just going back to earlier in the podcast, you used a term called integrative medicine, which I love because that was a term that started, bleeding its way into the mainstream like in the 90s, but it was still met with a lot of like, it's just fluffy stuff. But right. I think that's become like an actual legit term, like integrative, because it is about integrating that holistic approach with Western medicine, which does have its place. I mean, we have some great physicians out there that are doing great things to help people, but the two can definitely work as a great union and a team. So going back to chapter 4, keeping your brain sharp. Talk about that. So
that's one of my favorite subjects, because cognitive related, age decline, it's rampant, right? It is rampant in our society. And the first message that I want to convey that's so important is you need to start working on this decades before it shows up. And we're talking, by the time you're 40, you need to be working on everything in longevity. That is where a lot of my people would think longevity, people in their 50s and 60s. And yes, I help people at 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. But 40s is really a great place to start. right? And so some of the principles and lifestyle habits that you can put into place for brain health. Number one is exercise. We call it neurogenesis, which means actually building or growing new brain cells. And that would be the absolute the number one thing you can do. And number two is diet, in my opinion, diet. Anti-inflammatory diet is so important because when you have inflammation on the brain, that inflammation everywhere, that's going to be my next book actually on inflammation, but for anti-inflammatory foods and getting a good quality omega supplement as well. Eating fish, they say the brain food for fish, omegas are so important. And then also challenging your brain, is so important. I am going to start brushing up on my Spanish. I've never gotten totally fluent. So as I say, I know a few words, and so learning a language, doing something simple as word puzzles, making your brain work, that is extremely. And then taking gluten and grains out of the diet. And there's some wonderful books on that. On the grain brain is one of them. How gluten and grains affect our brain health. So it's reducing inflammation in your diet, exercising, reducing grains, and challenging. It's just like exercising your brain.